Hey guys, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. So one more week, at least for the Vikings to clinch the NFC North. They lose 34-13, or not 34-13, 34-23 in this one. First, before I say all the bad things that the Vikings did in this game, because there was a lot of them, I will say props to the Detroit Lions. It was still really impressive for them to come in. The Vikings, no matter how bad they played, are still a 10-2 team. And the Lions took care of them, and sorry, I walked upstairs. It was just a really impressive performance all around by them. Dan Campbell coached that one beautifully, and this offense is scary. Like, no matter what you want to say about the Vikings defense, this Lions offense is really scary. Put up 34 points, and props to them. Now to all the bad things the Vikings did. First of all, before we even talk about how they got to this point, the Vikings have a third down, and I think it was like 5 or 6. And the Lions, you think they're going to run it? I think maybe it was a 3rd and 2 or something like that. Anyway, you've got that situation. You're down by 8. All you have to do is stop that, and they're going to punt it, and you're going to get the ball back with like a minute left. There's still a chance to go down there and get the 8 points and try and win the game still. You see Penny Sewell, a gigantic offensive lineman for the Lions, motioning as if he's a receiver. And you look at Dan Campbell and you think, I wonder if maybe Dan Campbell's going to drop a play or they're going to try and pass it to him. And the Vikings defense didn't even look at him. They didn't even try to even consider guarding him. That was just the stupidest decision I've ever seen. Why would you not look at Penny? Literally, he wasn't even just kind of like shuffling across the line. He was in a full receiver formation, cutting to the other side of the field. And you didn't even think of putting a guy on that. Maybe it made no sense. But it even is stupid that we got into that position. First of all, our defense, let's just establish this, is the worst defense in the NFL. And there has been situations where teams with such a bad defense has made their way to the Super Bowl. You can reference a lot of teams, in the early 2000s that were able to get that done. But this defense is just bad. Obviously, Ed Donatel is not calling a lot of good plays, but the Lions did whatever they wanted against us. It didn't matter if it was 3rd and long or 3rd and short. They just found the open guy. There were running backs who I didn't even know the name of, just making cuts and scoring on us. It was just so embarrassing to watch all game long. This was the only game all season, after, we got all those, close victories, and I started believing in the team more and more. Like last week against the Jets when I went to the game, we were like at the 1 yard line. The Jets were at the 1 yard line, and I still believed we could win, even at that point. This game was the first game since early in the season that I saw a deficit and thought, yeah, we're not coming back from this. Because our defense just looks so bad. We had nothing. On the offensive side of the ball, if we're going to make it in the playoffs with this bad of a defense, we've established at this point the defense is horrible. It might come up big in big moments if you let them get in that situation. It didn't this week, but they have in the past. They did last week. But even with that, you have to accept this Vikings defense is absolutely atrocious. With that means that this Vikings offense is going to have to start playing well before the 3rd quarter or the 4th quarter. The Vikings were able to streak down the field, score 17 points in the 3rd and 4th quarter, and get back into the game. But where was that in the 1st and 2nd quarter? You're already down by 7 going into the halftime. A huge fumble by Dalvin Cook on a play where I don't even know what they were thinking there. You had the ball at the 4 yard line, maybe a little bit before that, and you're not going to just run it straight down the middle or try for a pass to Hawkinson or something like that. You're gonna try and toss it to Cook and see if he can maybe, I don't know what you're even thinking of him doing there. So that was a bad call. Everything was awful except for Justin Jefferson, and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins played a phenomenal game. He maybe had one overthrow or two the entire game. Justin Jefferson was an absolute beast like normal. But the play calling was awful for most of the game, and the offensive line was the worst I've seen this entire season. I'm not talking about just the Vikings. I've not seen an offensive line performance worse than that out of any game that I've seen all year long so far, out of any team. And I get that Darisaw was out, and that's going to be a huge factor going forward. But if we're going to give up that many points on defense, we're going to have to play well in shootouts. We're going to have to play like the way we do in the fourth quarter every single possession. That's the only way we're going to make it to the Super Bowl this year, is if our offense can significantly make up for the shortcomings of our defense. And after this game, I'm really concerned that's not going to happen. You know, I was pretty convinced we weren't going to lose or we weren't going to win if we played the Eagles in the NFC Championship. Now I'm concerned about any team outside of maybe the Commanders or the Buccaneers. Out of the 7 teams that are currently in the playoffs right now, those are the only 2 teams I'm really confident we can beat. We have a shot against any team right now if our offense can just play better all 4 quarters. But I'm now convinced that we're going to be the underdogs in pretty much any playoff game we play, which sucks because we're 10-3 and we're about to win our division handily and most likely get the 2nd seed with Purdy being out and everything for the 49ers. But we'll see what happens. We have the Colts. We're hosting the Colts at home for the next week's game, noon on Saturday. We have a Christmas Eve game against the Giants, who have been just looking worse and worse lately. So we still have a good shot of getting the 2nd seed, and anything can happen in the playoffs, but this defense is just really concerning. It gets more and more concerning every week, because before we were giving up a lot of yards, we were giving up a lot of points in the first couple halves or first couple quarters, but we came up big in the fourth, and now we were run all over by this Lions offense, and our offense just couldn't catch up. So thanks for watching this one. A lot of concern here. We'll talk a little bit more about it later in the week, but hopefully we can turn this around. Hopefully Harrison Smith coming back will be good for us, because that was definitely a factor, but still not an excuse for how poorly we played. So thanks so much for watching this one. We'll talk later, and I'll see you on the flip side.